Well, hi again, everyone, and welcome to UnAnchored Boston, and a very happy New Year to all out there who watch and listen to us every single week. And we're looking forward to a great 2025. And as always, we are brought to you by Cold Springs RV, your destination for all things camping. And where? We're in New Hampshire, of course, and by the great George Gray, the big wheel we call him at George Gray's in Lexington, Toyota. Well, we are thrilled today to have the foremost authority on all things Patriots and other things, but the Patriots are certainly in the forefront of the news right now. Karen is from masslive.com. Karen Guregian, by the way, I should say, good friend of ours, always enlightens us. And Robert, you're the best with the intro, so take it away, Robert.
Well, Chelmsford's best.
Yeah.
KG, Karen Guregian, and she's not afraid of the owner. She's not afraid of the head coach. She's not afraid of anything. Fearless. One of the great golfing prodigies of our time. And she's still waiting over at Fenway Park for Belichick to show up for the Wasabi Bowl. But no show, Karen. We talked about this last week, and we were talking about Karen's availability last Friday. She said, I'm going to be at Fenway Park waiting for Belichick. To do what, Karen? To what? To coach? To talk?
I'm still there. No, just to see me showed up. When he come to Boston with his new team, North Carolina, he wasn't coaching in the game, but that didn't mean he couldn't come.
He didn't show, did he?
Didn't.
Well, probably the smart thing.
They're not playing BC for I looked at the next 3 years or so, and they're not on the schedule, right?
Yeah, the kicker is that BC game is what ousted Mac Brown. They got smoked in that game, so this is the one that happened this year.
Okay, it's kind of a bummer.
Well, by that time, the rosters on BC, it'll be following pro football at a different level. That's basically what it's come down to, a college football game. I mean, seriously.
Well, I don't know. I think they were looking for an excuse to kind of kindly put Mac Brown aside and go in another direction. I don't think at the time they thought Bill Belichick was going to be the direction, but he put his hat in the ring and he was serious about it.
How did this whole thing come about? I mean, who made contact with Bill Belichick first? Was it the trustees? Was it the chancellor? Was it the athletic director?
No, it was those people who made contact with them.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what? You probably talked to Nick Saban and Saban probably said, "You want no part of this."
Well, I think initially, he was trying to get some NFL teams out of the weeds and show, look, I'm serious about going here. But nobody blinked on the NFL side to say either, after we have our opening, we want you, or sit tight, things will play out, we'll bring you in. None of that happened. He got zero interest from the NFL. I mean, you guys heard how him or his people reached out to the Jets, right?
Well, yeah, that was
that I cannot believe. I think he'd rather coach Foxborough Pop Warner than the New York Jets.
True. But again, his people doing their due diligence. But I think when it became clear that the NFL people just weren't biting, I think he finally said, all right, UNC, my father coached here. He tried to hook up or relate the transfer portal to like free agency, and so he tried to put it into a context of the NFL, and that's where he is. The other part of the equation is, who has the power? And I don't think any NFL team was going to give him the same type of power he ultimately had in Foxborough, where he was the be all and end all, this chief decision maker across the board. Here at UNC, they've given him that kind of power. To have his people in place, Mike Lombardi being one of them. He brought his son in. So again, for Bill, yes, he wants Don Shula's record, but he wants to do things how he wants to do things. And for now, UNC is it. And there's enough outs in his contract that he has that it's not, if someone changes their mind and comes after him after a year, that I could see him jumping back into the NFL.
Of course, that quote about him, I'm not here to leave. That'll be played over and over again. I can just imagine that happen.
Yeah, well, he said a few things in an introductory press conference, but notice the wording, though, as opposed to "I'm not leaving." How do you say it? I didn't come.
I didn't come here to leave.
Right. So, well, something happened, and so I didn't come here to leave, but guess what? Something happened, and there I am. See ya.
And you actually, let's go ahead, Michael. Any more on Belichick? Because I really got to get into this disaster that's playing itself out on Route 1.
You will in a second, but the word collusion is used to be used a lot in free agency and in baseball, and now I think we have a case of collusion here among all the NFL owners to keep this guy out. That what Robert Kraft told Arthur Blank last year in the offseason when he was considering hiring Bill Belichick, I think now is spread around to the whole league. You never can prove collusion, but it's there.
Well, I don't know if it's definitely a spoken word. My take is that Belichick pissed off enough people with his arrogance when he was winning, with having 2 cheating scandals on his realm. And I just don't think, the Patriots were really good winners in terms of, not rubbing it in people's faces and going about it. I mean, it's hard though. You win 6 Super Bowls and, it's hard not to think you're great, and it's hard not to rub it in people's faces. But
Andy Reid seems to have worked it out. Andy Reid seems to have figured out how to do that.
He hasn't won 6 yet. He hasn't won 6 yet. So he hasn't been to like 9 Super Bowls in 20 years, or whatever the ridiculous number was. I mean, it's not ridiculous. It was all great. And a testament to the team that Bill built, and a testament to the quarterback he had for 2 decades, Tom Brady.
Do you think that you'll be assigned to that first game, the North Carolina against, were they playing East Carolina, or I think they were playing first? But do you think that?
I think it's Tulane. TCU. Sorry, I think it's one of those.
TCU, you're right.
TCU, I could very well be there on August 30th.
And you won't be alone with Boston media, right?
And I will not be alone.
Yeah. All right, Bob, you got a question?
Well, thanks, Mike, for letting me have a chance. I appreciate it. Karen wants his team to start Joe Milton on Sunday. Okay, I'm serious. She does. This is what she wants. Joe Milton, not the Drake. Uh, I don't know. I can't figure this out. Do you want them to win? Do you want them not to win? Do you want them to tank? Do you want them to, what are you going to do with the first draft pick? How are you
Well,
possibly
I
going
think,
to?
well,
Go ahead.
some people say that it doesn't matter who you start, they'll still lose because that's what they do. I
would be in that category.
Well, I think losing benefits the organization. I mean, people, oh, what's the difference between the first pick and the fourth pick? The first pick, they get to control the board. And unlike last year, where there's 4, 5, 6 quarterbacks, considered at least 3, the first 3 considered among elite, that there's not this bounty of quarterbacks or really good quarterback prospects coming out of college. There's 2, Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward. And being in the number 1 spot, I mean, there's a couple teams there, whether it's Las Vegas, the Giants, and a few others who need a quarterback. And if you're not in the first 2 picks, you're not going to get the quarterback. So, being in that number 1, I think it was like the Bears got this bounty from the Carolina Panthers a few years back. Right. They got a bunch of 2 first-round picks. They got players. They got multiple picks. I mean, it was an absolute bounty. And that's how the Bears got Caleb Williams, basically, in the number 1 slot. So, again, for a team that's rebuilding, for a team like the Patriots that has needs across the board, getting the number 1 pick, in theory anyway, should help them the most. So that's why, losing to Buffalo's B team is the way to go.
I don't disagree with you at all. In fact, I concur with you that the number 1 pick is going to bring other picks. But what really concerns me is who is around to do that? Who is around to make those picks and to make sure that that's the best possible talent? I mean,
well, therein lies the problem, Bob, because
it's great enough to have like 5 first-round picks. If you had 5 first-round picks, that's great. Who's doing the picking?
Therein lies the issue, Bob. And Robert and Jonathan Kraft have to decide. I mean, this is a significant moment for them. I mean, last year was too. They got the quarterback, but it didn't seem like they didn't do anything after that, and the quarterback kind of fell in their lap, let's say. So there wasn't much thought put into taking the 3rd best of the 3 studs at the top of the draft. But what they did in free agency, what they did in the draft, leaves you kind of shaking your head a little bit. It's like, do these people know what the heck they're doing? And the other part of the equation is Elliot Wolf and Matt Groh are both leftovers from the Belichick regime. And the Belichick regime, the last 5 years or so, were terrible. Their drafts are basically why the Patriots are in the position that they're in. Why they have one of the worst rosters, or the worst roster in the NFL, is because of how bankrupt Bill left them in terms of talent. So the Crafts have to decide, again, now that they're in this spot, do they blow it up entirely? And that means Gerard Mayo, Elliot Wolf, everyone, and completely start over. Do you keep everyone and really hope that Elliot gets it right this time with what he does in the off season? Or do you make a few tweaks here and there, you know, to the coaching staff and whatnot? And again, hope, it's going to work out.
1 year and just is not a long time, but in football time, it is a long time, 1 year, and you can't sit and wait. This train cannot slide further down the track, because it's not going to get any better at all. This thing has to be blown up and start from scratch. All right, we hired the wrong guy to be the head coach. We hired the wrong guys to run the organization and make the draft picks. We've got to start from scratch and just try to move forward. And I don't see any other way. This is Butch Hobson with the Red Sox. That was a wasted year when Butch Hobson was managing. And I see the same thing here with poor Gerard Mayo. Nice guy, should not have been put in that position.
Well, what ultimately they did, and again, I think they were so happy to move on from Belichick.
Yeah.
I think they thought that everything was going to be so much better and more pleasant around Foxborough. And for the most part, it has been. But if you sit down and you look at how they replaced Belichick, who was, in all intents and purposes, the GM, the coach, he did everything. He ran the whole thing. He was the supreme czar. Right. Okay. So you have Elliot Wolf, who's never been a GM. I mean, he has experience in organizations in the front office, but he's never been the guy pulling the trigger. Okay. So you have a first-year GM. You loved Gerard Mayo from jump way back. So Robert loved him from a trip from Israel and thought he would be a great head coach. But essentially, you're adding a first-year head coach to the first-year GM.
Yeah.
Then you're adding a first-year. They couldn't get any of the offensive coordinators they wanted. Number 12 on the list was Alex Van Pelt, who was a coordinator but not a play caller. So then you have a first-year GM, a first-year coach, a first-year offensive play caller. Then you have Mayo hiring DeMarcus Covington to be the defensive coordinator, he's never been a defensive coordinator. So you have rookies all over the lot running an organization that's bereft of talent. And people should be surprised that they're 3-12 or whatever, 3-13 right now.
Would Belichick would he have won more than 3 games?
He might have won a few more games, but the big picture problem wouldn't have changed. Who's picking the groceries? Because he picked the groceries for the past, while he was fine early on, the last few years. I mean, how do you pick a guard, Cole Strange, in the first round, who's not like this all-world guard? That's what Belichick did. How do you pick Tyquan Thornton, in the second round? How do you pick, all of these draft picks that N'Keal Harry in the first round? You can't miss. For teams to be successful, and Belichick had a great batting average his first 15 or so years with first round picks.
Yep.
And then it kind of went in the toilet. But not only first round picks, second round picks, third round picks. The lifeblood of your team revolves around, how you have to hit 3 or 4 each year, at least. Hit on 3 or 4 each year to basically successfully replenish your team. And they didn't do that. I mean, Belichick had like a full 7-guy drafts where they were all none of them did anything. You
They
can't
never did much
survive.
with character. They never did much character issue background checks either. Apparently, guys bringing guns through airports, and captains going to jail. It's just
Well,
like
that
what?
changed when Myra Kraft was alive. Myra Kraft being Bob Kraft's wife. Um, she would tell Bob she wouldn't stand for having that type or that ilk on the team. And they drafted Christian Peter, I forget what year it was. And she said, no, 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 Bob. And he was gone like the next day. He was on charges of domestic abuse or whatever. He supposedly threw his girlfriend down a flight of stairs. So when Myra was around, that was like one of the things that Bob imposed. I don't want abusers on my team. Well, once Myra left and that, Bill got to bring in a whole bunch of, I don't want to say felons, but the difference being when Belichick did it, if those guys didn't work out, they were out the door immediately. Corey Dillon came in and he behaved for a year, and that might have been the best Patriots team ever, 2004. But once Corey Dillon started to go back off the rail, same thing with Randy Moss.
Yeah.
Once Randy Moss got into it in the airplane with Bill O'Brien, he was gone like the next day. So, Bill patrolled the kind of questionable characters that he brought in. If they didn't work out, if they could play football and they helped out, fine. If they didn't, they were gone. But he also had a very good locker room of like lieutenants and police colonels like Willie McGinnis, who would keep these guys in line. I'm not sure they have that anymore right now.
There was a time before Belichick, before Pete Carroll, before Bill Parcells, when poor Don Lowry had the toughest job of all, because every Tuesday morning somebody would be in trouble somewhere, and it was like a mess. They'd be coming back from the Foxy Lady, or they'd be this place and that place, and then that all stopped for a couple of decades until they brought in some questionable character guys during Belichick's time, and they were gone. But nothing like it happened this year. It's just like, here we go. We're going back to the early 1990s, the late 1980s.
Yeah. Well, football's a tough sport, and sometimes you need those guys, those questionable characters. They're good football players.
Yeah.
No, it seems like there are different roles, obviously, for different people. Tom Brady's success depended on a certain set of skills. Belichick's success depended on his certain set of skills, and each of them were really good at what they did. But I'm asking you about the owner and his set. The owners and his set of skills. Was this just luck, the good luck that's turned into bad luck, or was there actually?
I don't think so. I mean, I think early on, Robert Kraft, whether buying the team, being a former fan, he was really invested in making it right. I mean, he had Bill Parcells. He interfered too much, and Parcells left. He brought in Pete Carroll. When he saw that wasn't going to work, players were going up the back stairs to rat out Pete and so on. He did what Robert at the time people thought was crazy. he gave up a first round pick to the Jets to bring in Bill Belichick. And I wrote at the time how crazy I thought that was. And I think that move was almost like universally panned. As a matter of fact, that column I wrote about Kraft being crazy to give up a first round pick for a guy whose name isn't Vince Lombardi is in a book of like worst all-time takes. because of look what happened. Bill turned out to be Robert was exactly right about Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
So, but he between eventually allowing Belichick to maneuver and do things like that. I mean, Bob was smart to learn his lesson from Parcells and kind of keep his hands off. Okay, fine, Bill, you run it. Well, guess what? It got him into 9 Super Bowls in 20 years. He left. If it was up to Bob Kraft, Drew Bledsoe wouldn't have lost his job coming back. But he trusted Belichick. Belichick kept with Brady that year, and the rest is history. I mean, Bob just spent $100 million on Drew Bledsoe, and there's Belichick saying, "Nah, I want the 6th round pick to be the quarterback." But Kraft let that go.
Yep. Well, I think he was in his just let the football guys take care of the football era in his mind, because he learned his lesson from Parcells. Parcells walked out the door because he couldn't stand the interference, and so that's when Robert Kraft decided, okay, it's hard it is for me to zip it. I need to zip it.
Right, but as things evolved, though, and the more power he gave Belichick to basically have total authority on all things football, I think later on, as things, Brady walking through the door, right? Kraft sided with Belichick on that. And then as he watched kind of the team deteriorate post Brady, I think he decided, look, I let it go too far. I need to reel it back, get Belichick out, and have it where everyone has more of a voice. So there's more voices. It's more of a collaborative effort as opposed to having one sovereign run the whole show. But perhaps he's seen now that it's gone too far back the other way, because, it's like he while Mayo he continues to say he's the chief decision maker, that hasn't been the case. He left the offense to Alex Van Pelt, period. And you could kind of see with some decisions, even Gerard was kind of saying, when people were asking, well, why can't you let Drake run? Well, you said that, I didn't. Kind of throwing his offensive coordinator under the bus.
Yeah.
When you have one voice, one authority, it's like you don't have to try and figure out who's making what decision.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see if the Crafts cede a little bit and go back toward having the one voice.
Well, I can't see them doing anything else. Tell you the truth is, I mean, they can do whatever they want, but if they're looking for any kind of success, they have to realize their own limitations too. I mean, you have to know what you can. got to know what you don't know.
Right.
And
Well, and I think them being in the
they're really
stadium,
good at fantasy football teams, but they're not, Jonathan's got his own
Well-
fantasy league.
yeah. Well, them being in the stadium and listening to fans boo the team almost from jump, hearing them chant "Fire Mayo," I mean, that has to have some kind of an impact with them, I would think. And again, fans shouldn't dictate moves and what teams ultimately do. But I think that has to kind of open their minds up to say, look, as it was, they've had a ton of empty seats. You've never had empty seats in Foxborough. Every home game, I don't believe any of them sold out. And even when Drake May finally took over as quarterback, they still could and provided some excitement and some hope. They still didn't sell out. They couldn't give tickets away. So all of these things, I would think, would have to add up to the Crafts, so they don't just make some token move, that they do something more substantial.
No, I think what you have to have when you make a change, you have to have hope. That's something. Oh, we have hope for the future. There's hope that good things are going to happen. And right now, there is nothing in other than the quarterback and
Right.
Christian Gonzalez. I don't think there's any position on the field or on the sidelines or up in the press box where there was any sign of hope. None whatsoever. I think this is we go back to the Rod Rust, Ron Earhart days. I mean, I had more hope then than I do now about this team.
Yeah. Well, that's the big thing. It's like, okay, they got the quarterback. There isn't enough faith that they're going to be able to take advantage of that quarterback because of decisions that have been made by the new group, and also how things went with the coaching staff. I mean, typically everyone keeps bringing up the examples of Detroit or even here with Bill Parcells and Belichick. Their first years weren't. I mean, I think Parcells went like 1-11 his first year before they won the last 4 games. But as the season wore on, at least you could see signs of progress. You could see them actually, you could see the line going up. Even though they were losing, you could see the difference in the team and perhaps where it was headed. I mean, you saw the trajectory. And same thing with Belichick. He went 5-11 his first year. But again, you could see the signs of progress. The difference here with Mayo's team is, God, they got off to a great start. They beat Cincinnati in Cincinnati. They seem to have, wow, that was great. And from that point on, it went like this.
Yeah.
The trajectory went down. They were making the mistakes, same mistakes they were early in the year, late in the year, whether it was penalties, mental mistakes. There was no learning curve. Nobody appeared to be learning anything. The one great, good thing they had was the quarterback. He couldn't win with the team around him, as good as he is. So there's a difference between what happened those first years with Parcells and Belichick to this first year, or even Pete Carroll's first year. And again, that's something Crafts have to recognize.
Well,
Well, the other example is Dan Campbell. I mean, there's a bunch of them. Dan Campbell in Detroit. I'm not sure he won it. He might have won one game his first year. Look at that team now. But again, for those who covered that team and watched the Detroit Lions from start to finish that first year, they saw growth. They saw that team in games late in the year. They saw them, giving the top teams a legitimate run for their money. So, and of course, then it took off the next year. Although they weren't great early on, but you could kind of see progress. You could see buy-in from the players. It's the players buy in, but there's been no sign of progress.
yeah, except for the quarterback.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. I'm going to roll in my Cold Springs RV opportunity here, but then I have a list of individual questions, Karen, like the coach, stay or go, like Drake May, play or not play. So those are the kind of questions. But first, let me throw in the camper's delight here. Cold Springs RV, and all about freedom and getting next year's models, and having an RV is all about freedom, because you can come and go as you please. You can have whatever relationships you can have, and if they get tired of you, they can drive their trailer away, and then if you get tired of them, you can do the same under the cover of darkness. Cold Springs RV is next year's models, and they're arriving daily. Latest in pop-ups, travel trailers, fifth wheelers, and motorhomes. Well, Cold Springs RV, the doors are always open, and you can freely browse. Now that we're into 2025, we're ready to roll. You want to see the latest in camping? Get the Cold Springs RV. They're west of Goffstown, New Hampshire, north of Chelmsford and Tingsboro, and that's pretty much where New Hampshire is. That's exactly where it is. I know a couple of friends of mine, Jackie and Phil. They each had separate RVs. They parked next to each other in Raymond, New Hampshire, and love took off. And so did she at midnight. So that was these things happen, but it's all about freedom and all about RVs and whatever.
Raymond, New Hampshire, former home of Carlton Fisk. That's the only reason I know Raymond, New Hampshire.
You're right, KG. Absolutely right. There aren't many people.
I go back a ways,
Yeah, don't we all? I've been in that kitchen, in that Raymond, New Hampshire kitchen. So, Lynchy, Karen, you've been asked this question a couple times since you've been one of our most favorite guests of all time, competing with your own podcast, by the way.
I know.
Any big names that you've had on lately? I know Lynchy and I have been unavailable, but any big names that you've had on?
I have Devin McCourty on a few weeks back, and
nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, It's interesting how things come full circle, but it's I don't want to say great to hear, but Devin being critical of his former team, whereas stuff like that just wouldn't happen. But he gets it. He understands what as an analyst now, he can't hold back. So yeah, he was critical, and again, for a podcast host, that's great. That's great.
That is really good. No, that's.
So here's, the deal, Karen, right? So Cold Springs RV is making a Lobel Lynchy cruiser. It's the upscale model of the Madden cruiser, and each one of our guests on the show, when it's eventually built, is going to have use of that Lobel Lynchy cruiser for 1 week, drive cross country. We'll fly you back from the West Coast, but the only caveat, you have to pick a person to ride shotgun with you. And we've asked this before, and this person can be a sports person, can be a musician, can be a politician, can be deceased, can be alive, just somebody that you would love to spend just trade stories with, or just listen to this person for 6, 7, 8 days, however long it takes to drive across country. So who would it be?
Well, before I give you one name, I was thinking about this. You know, the ultimate would be taking a page out of Bob Lobel's book from way back. I would like to ride cross country with 4 goats of the major sports, meaning I would have Brady, Michael Jordan, Bobby Orr, and Pedro Martinez. Maybe. Do I have a baseball one?
Yeah.
So I would have 4 all-time greats. Some people might think the greatest of all time. Ted Williams would be the baseball one.
Oh.
Have all 4 of them with me, like Bob had on his set one time.
Yep.
And just listen to them either tell stories, 1, 2, talk about how they evolved into their greatness. and I would just love to, my guess is they all have very similar mindsets, that they're all driven in a way that's off the charts. But anyway, I would be fascinated by that conversation to get like the best, throw Tiger Woods in there, the best of their respective sports.
It's a great idea. That's great.
And just hear them talk across country. I think that I would love that.
We certainly have room for them, because this is really going to be the.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Why do you limit it to just one person?
Well, you could throw in Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali would be a fascinating person to put in that group too. He'd probably be the MC of the group.
I met him and we shadow boxed.
Yes.
I didn't tell you that story?
No.
I didn't tell you that story, Bob?
No. Where'd you meet him?
He made an appearance at a local college, which I don't remember. It was a while ago. And he was doing, he made an appearance. I think he was getting an award here from somewhere, but, and I had arranged to meet him for a private session when the thing was done. And, so I was ushered into a room and he was there. I was introduced to him, and right after the introduction, he put his dukes up. Like, come on, let's go a few. And I was like, okay, Karen, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to start boxing with Muhammad Ali? So I put my hands up. What the heck? And he started throwing a few. And then after we did that and started laughing, as I said, I was kind of blown away. And then I think I did tell you the story. So we chatted a bit, and again, it was later on when, Parkinson's had set in, and, it was tougher for him he communicated more with his eyes and his gestures. Then he walked to the back of the room. I swear this happened. I swear. He walked to the back of the room, kind of near where the windows were. And this happened. He levitated off the ground. Honest to God. I don't know if it was smoke and mirrors, but I saw his feet come up. And it's like, do you think I could ask a question after all that? No. But guess what? I had my story. I didn't need like a half an hour of chatting with Muhammad Ali. I could talk about boxing with him and watching him rise off the ground.
How do you think that happened? Now that you're talking about that,
I have no idea.
Gerard Mayo. Now I want to talk about Muhammad Ali.
The other thing he did, he was big with magic tricks. He pulled stuff out of my ear. That was the other thing.
Oh, really?
I mean, yeah. I'll put it this way: not what I expected at all. He was doing magic tricks for me.
Wow, amazing.
That's pretty good.
Charming. Again, his eyes. He communicated through his eyes and his actions at that stage.
That's pretty amazing. That's an amazing story. You know what, Lynchy, we ought to just, and Karen, you can throw in your 2 cents about this. We should, instead of asking people who they really want to take, who would they least want to go with across country for a week? Who would be the top of the list? Who would you least want to travel with for a couple of weeks? Don't right. Don't start going around the room.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mike. You go, Mike.
Bob
There's a
Lobel. Oh. Bob Lobel or Mike Lynch. Those that most people will probably pick.
Yeah. You know, the thing with that, Bob, though, is, you pick out a name. If you pick out a name like Aaron Hernandez, for example, right, as
Right.
someone you don't want. By the same token, again, there's been so many documentaries and series. What happened to him or his story is fascinating beyond the fact that he killed people. Putting that aside, trying to learn how he got to the point that he got, what happened to him in his life for him. And it is a fascinating story. How did he get to the point of being a cold-blooded killer? Right. So
Right.
I think there is some fascination or interest to find out how people become how they become. Whether it's like I was saying, I want to hear from the greats how they became, what common threads they had. It would be the kind of same thing, trying to listen to hear how Aaron Hernandez turned out to essentially be evil.
I think that's fascinating. I mean, there's a Netflix show. I think it's called Mind Hunters. It might not be on Netflix, so maybe you saw that and you know what I'm talking about. It's a similar pursuit of serial killers. Now that we're really getting into this, a lot of interesting sports here.
Hey, you mentioned
everyone has a story.
Raymond, New Hampshire, and Carlton Fisk. So back in the late 60s to mid 70s, my dad was a scout for the Philadelphia Phillies in New England. And he loved this catcher up in, I thought did he play in Claremont as well? Or was it Raymond? Claremont, right? Fisk. So anyway.
Yeah, it might have been right. But Bob said Keene, and that rung a bell too. So I don't know.
So he brings a guy named Patty Cottrell, who was the head scout for the Phillies, the whole country. He says, you got to see this guy. They drive all the way up to Raymond and Claremont, New Hampshire, and they're sitting behind the backstop watching batting practice. First inning comes, Fisk gets up. I don't know, he grounded out or something. The guy goes, come on, Dick, pack it up. They picked up their folding chairs, and my dad doesn't know what the hell's going on. He said, this guy's too gangly. He's too awkward. He'll never be a major league player. But, let me know if you got anybody else in the region. And my dad was so discouraged after that. He never signed any great players, but he had Carlton Fisk right in his grasp right there. Head scout of the Phillies didn't like him. Didn't like the way he handled himself. Was too slow, too deliberate. They wanted catchers to be the rah-rah type. And guys who would sit behind there and scream and yell at everybody. And anyway, that's my story. All right, let's move on to more important things.
Interesting. I'm going to throw a couple names out here, Karen. The situations. Quick answers here. Drake May, play or not play Sunday?
Not play. And it's not, I need to answer, it's not necessarily all about the first pick. He got smoked in that last game. Yeah. They haven't been protecting him. Do you want to risk injury where some type of injury where he can't hit the ground running next year.
You know it's inevitable, right? If you keep this up, it's inevitable.
Well, that's more the point than anything else. I wrote, he's proven everything. We know what he's going to be, and that was the most important thing. We saw enough of his skills and his talent to know he's going to be a very good quarterback. The rest is up to the Patriots to surround him. But it's not like we need to see him in another game to know. And in a meaningless game against a bunch of scrubs, what, you want to pad his stat total? I mean, at the risk of having him suffer a type of injury that would set him back next year. That is not what you're looking for. So I say Drake May.
Gerard Mayo, coach or not coach next year?
Do I get to answer after my answer? I would say I'm with you, blow it up. He got off to a bad first year. That's not to say he might not evolve into being a very good head coach. Where the Patriots are sitting right now, they can't roll the dice. And if, Robert Kraft believes he's going to be a great head coach, but can they afford to take the years and the time it's going to take for him to evolve into that, the way things are constituted? My answer is no.
Do not. Okay.
Final answer.
Oh,
Final
gone.
answer.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's gone.
No play May. No go Mayo. Van Pelt must. Well, if the coach is gone, then why wouldn't that answers the questions about the Magic Four, which includes.
Well, can we flip back though? If they keep Mayo, I think they have to keep Van Pelt. He's the only coach who's at least done something. I mean, Drake May has progressed. He has shown signs of improvement from, again, what I saw in training camp to what we're seeing today. Now, part of that might be that he's just such a quick study and a great learner and so on and so forth. But someone had to teach him. Someone had to work with him and mentor him every day. And largely, that person was Alex Van Pelt. May trust Van Pelt, said great things about him, doesn't want to see him go. And again, if you change the offensive coordinator and you have a new system, that threatens Drake May, because young quarterbacks don't tend to do well having to change having to get new coaches every single year, change their system every single year. So instead of hitting the ground running next year with the same guy, the same scheme, having a better understanding of that scheme, having played it a whole year and now adding on, basically with a new guy, you're taking at least for the offensive coordinator and Drake May, in theory, you're taking a step back.
Fair. And then my other one is Wolf. I guess that's probably the most important one. You bring Wolf and Grow back. I mean, they're the guys that are going to be picking it. Bye-bye, Mike, right? Bye-bye. Right, Karen?
Yep.
Connie?
Yeah. I mean, as I said at the outset, we're at a turning point here for the organization, okay? They've been steadily going downhill since Brady left. Belichick's only been gone a year. But you're backing up 3 and 4 win seasons. You got your quarterback, and if things fall right and you lose Sunday, you control the draft board, number 1 overall. You have $130+ million in cap space. You're in a position to really make moves to really start to turn this thing around. do you, from what we've seen in 1 year, and again, it's not fair, it's only 1 year, but from what we've seen from Elliott Wolf, both in free agency and the draft last year, the Crafts have to ask themselves, do we have confidence with him having control of the draft board and more money to woo free agents? Do we have confidence that he's going to make the right choices? That he's going to know how to manipulate that draft board? From
I say no. Who are you going to bring in here? Who would want to come here given the situation?
See, it depends on, I think you have to decide on the coach first. For instance, if it's Mike Vrabel, okay, you need to have a GM that has the same type of vision as Mike Vrabel. So it has to be somebody that he's comfortable with and confident that can do what I just mapped out, right? So is it, somebody, John Robinson, who we worked with in Tennessee, although I'm not sure they saw eye to eye by the end? Is it a Thomas Dimitroff, who was here when Vrabel was here, and they have a connection? Is it somebody else? Is it Scott Pioli, or is it somebody completely different? Whatever it is, whoever the coach is, they need to be in line with the person who's making the decisions. I remember. Yeah, I was just gonna say, I remember Pioli telling me stories about how Bill had a type of player, or Bill wanted certain fits, and it was Pioli's job to match up what Belichick wanted with the people he went out and got. They were on the same page. The coach and GM have to be on the same page.
And then Scott said, by the way, Bill, put your dog behind the typewriter when you take pictures of what you're doing at the draft. So it looks like the dog is making the pick. All right, my quick question, final one. Bob Kraft, sell or continue?
I'll continue.
Jonathan.
Because essentially Jonathan is going to take over, and I think Jonathan will have that attack that perhaps an 83-year-old Bob has lost over time, or he'll be a little more ruthless, let's say.
Hey, let me get this.
They've been good owners for the most part.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? If you want to get out of town and you need a new vehicle, go where Lowy and Lynchy go. Go see our good friend George Gray at George Gray's Lexington Toyota. We've been customers for years because we know that George Gray will treat you right. They're family-owned, operated dealership that we trust and you can trust as well. Go see the big wheel, the great George Gray at George Gray's Lexington Toyota, 419 Mass Ave in Lexington. I'm going over there next week to get some new brakes, and I'm getting some other work done on my car. I'm a customer of his and Lowy has for decades and decades. So go see George Gray, and you'll probably wind up talking about the Patriots with him too, because he loves sports as we do as well. I get let's see. I had one question, and I'm trying to think what it was. Now I forgot. That's what happens when you get senile and old. What was my question?
I'm sure it was a good one. No, it had to have been a good one. It have to do with the Hall of Fame. Did it had to do with
No.
Kraft ownership? Did it have to do with Jonathan? Jonathan was the last thing on your mind. So did it have to do with
when does he take over?
What?
When does he take over, Jonathan?
Was that your question, or is that you just make that up?
I just made it up. I can't remember my question was.
I can't believe I have to do the introductions and your questions too.
I know. Why can't we get sports anchors like you all the time, Paul?
No, I don't know. I'm just saying. When are you going to think of this question? It's 4:00 this afternoon.
Probably. Yeah.
I just thought of it. Can we call Karen again?
Give me a
Yeah.
call. Give me a call, Mike.
We'll do a conference call and get it back on.
All right.
It was a good one too, but I can't.
Oh, I'm serious. It had to be
I'm on the edge of my seat, Mike.
two, man. Come on. It had to do with the coaches.
You were rattling off your questions, and I said, "No, I got a good one too," and now I can't remember. We'll call George Gregg. George probably. I'll let George know when I bring my car into service next week.
All right. All right. So, did you have another question, Mike? Because
no, I did not. Here's the was. All right.
Wait a minute.
Do you keep the number one pick, or do you package it?
Is this the original question?
Well, yeah. I mean, like so now you get 1 and you get 33, or do you package it and you get 4 and 8 and next year's for somebody's first round pick? Is there a guy, can the Heisman Trophy winning hunter? Can he help you next year? Would you like to have him on the roster, or have him on another team and watching him go like what's his name on the Chargers, McConkey?
If you play it right,
yeah,
you can trade the pick and still get who you want. You know, if you move down with somebody again who's likely to be in the top 5, you know, who is going to absolutely make sure that they get the court that they want. So, I think again, this is such a important draft.
Did you take the kid from Colorado? The kid that won the Heisman, Hunter?
I might, but I have to see what. In theory, yes, I would, because again, there's a dearth of playmakers or guys who are talented, and you know, Hunter has that talent. He's a two-way player. Put it this way, Belichick would have loved him, but you know, he either gives you 2 elite corners. And a lot of people say corner is his best position. But if you threw him on offense, he immediately becomes their best receiver. Yeah. So, you know, the talent is a thing. But the Patriots' needs are so glaring. Fortunately for them, free agency comes before the draft. Can they take care of their primary needs at tackle by signing a legitimate left tackle in free agency? If they do that, you know, because if they can't do that, they have to draft a tackle high up in the draft. So, and this isn't the best draft for tackles, but there's a couple of elite ones toward the top. So again, can they sign a veteran who's available, who actually plays left tackle, not right tackle, which they tried to get away with and didn't? You know, do they sign T. Higgins? Right? I mean,
I don't think with this coach they do, Karen. I don't think this becomes a destination for players if this coaching staff is still intact. I think you need to have somebody here that guys want to come play for. I don't think they want to play for Gerard Mayo.
Well, that might be, but again, money talks. So they're going to have to overpay and then overpay some to really lure the big time talents. I think on the offensive side of the ball, there is some appeal to come and, you know, play with Drake May, you know, based on the year he's had and based on, again, his trajectory. So again, if you throw a ton of cash, I mean, I think T. Higgins is staying in Cincinnati, but if you throw a ton of cash at, and again, I'm not sure about who else is out there right now going to be free agents. But if you grab a left tackle in free agency, again, that allows you more flexibility in the draft with what you're able to do. The problem last year is they did zero in free agency. So they were still left with their biggest needs: left tackle, wide receiver, and on down the board. And well, quarterback too. So they got the quarterback and they flunked at receiver and tackle. Again, if you shorten the list of needs with what you do in free agency, that gives you a little more leeway and leverage in the draft.
Is that
How's
your
that,
question, Nick?
How was that? Good?
That was really good.
Worth waiting for,
That
huh?
was a good question.
Good. Yeah.
But I would move down. I mean, some quarterback needy team is going to fight to get up into the first two spots. And again, if the Patriots are number one, have the number one spot, the team that wants Shedeur Sanders above all, or wants Cam Ward above all, is going to move mountains to get in that spot to get that quarterback.
So we go no lower than 3, right? Is that what you say?
Four. If they win, 4 is the lowest they can drop. But
Okay.
by that time, again, the quarterbacks are going to be off the board.
All right. We don't need a quarterback.
So how about
Right.
this,
So
Karen? How about if we trade
I would
Drake
almost
May?
say I'm
How
for it.
about if we trade Drake May and keep the number one pick?
Nope.
Well, think of what you're going to get for Drake May. Aren't you going to get a lot more for Drake May than you are the number one pick, so that you get a new quarterback? Wait a minute.
Yes,
Wait.
but
Just
Bob,
hear me.
think about this, Bob. The whole point for teams is to get the quarterback. Teams who don't have the quarterback struggle and struggle and struggle and struggle and struggle. You had the number 3 pick. You got Drake May. He is the quarterback. He is the franchise. Are you going to trade him and bring in some other guy who, whether it's Cam Ward or Sanders? And what if they don't translate into the NFL? There's no guarantee. And look at Caleb Williams.
Well, I mean, there's no guarantee he's not going to get hurt either. I'm just saying in terms
Well,
of building
if you
your team.
have your,
Go ahead.
I have the quarterback. I'm good.
I'm
Okay.
good.
I think that's stonewalling it. You're hearing the possibilities. Let's sit
All
around.
right.
Wait a minute. No. That is not the right.
If any of the possibilities.
Stop. What is this, Mike?
I'm giving you the Heisman.
Yeah. Well, you know what? And then she's giving me the cold. She's giving me the cold finger. So it's
Karen was giving it to you too.
okay.
I'm trying to
You
tell
want to
you,
hear what
Bob.
I'm going to have to say? That's all right.
Well,
You're not the first
tell me,
person.
and
That
then
didn't
please tell me-
no, you're not the
please
first
tell me
person
what you
today that
thought.
did not want to hear what I didn't have to say.
Well, you're talking about trading Drake May. Unless you're trading him for Patrick Mahomes, or it's not happening.
Sam
No.
Darnold.
No. Well, you're missing the point.
Finish your thought. Go
That's
ahead,
all right,
Bob. Finish your thought. Don't shoot it down.
Well, here's the note. At least I remember it. Okay.
Yes.
I did eventually remember it. Just
Well,
right away.
you said that was a good comeback and fight. You admitted that was your question. It may not have been your question. You may not have remembered it. So
You'll never know.
no, I'll never
All
know.
right, Bob. Here, I'm zipping my lip. I'm zipping it up.
No.
Go for it.
Now I forgot what I was going to say.
Yes.
It's an epidemic these days.
All right.
I don't know. Well, let me ask
All right.
Mike.
Here you go.
Oh.
What?
Go ahead. You have the question. Go for it.
No, go ahead. I can defer.
No, I was just going to ask Mike. If you've landed the quarterback, why are you going to trade the quarterback and take a chance on another person that you don't know?
Karen, it's not. He didn't ask you.
I like the quarterback. I'm keeping him. Bob's the one who wants to get rid of him.
I didn't say I
I
wanted to get
know.
rid of him, to give the guy a
You
chance
just
to win.
said you were going to trade him.
If I was
You
Drake
said you were
May,
gonna
I'd be
trade
asking
him.
for a trade.
We have to
What?
give this guy something to work with. I keep, people who grew up around here watch. Remember Major Mud, Karen? Remember him? He had his helmet on, and his helmet was it said IBB, while I'll be blasting you. His helmet was always on crooked and sideways. And that reminds me of Drake May. Every time he tries to run with the football, he gets up and he's just looking out his ear hole in his helmet. This guy's got to learn how to slide, how to go out of bounds. It's just, that's the one thing. If I was an offense coordinator, that'd be the first thing. I said, Drake, I appreciate your toughness, but you are never going to lower your shoulder and try to break a tackle. All right. I want you to learn how to slide, and we're gonna have sliding practice. All right, we're gonna have sliding practice every single week until you learn how to do it.
I think Drake is aware he has to figure that out.
Yeah.
I'm semi-confident that those issues will be better next year. I think, Bob, in terms of quarterback, and again, the reason you play Joe Milton is you need to find out whether he can be a legitimate backup, or if he can be enough of a tease for another team to give you something for him in return. Because Drake May is the guy, but Joe Milton has skills off the charts. So, maybe another team will want to take a chance on him, and they will give you something good in return. But teams aren't going to know unless you see Joe Milton on the field. That's
Well,
the
I love
biggest
you,
reason
Karen, and you did a great
for
job today.
getting Milton out there.
This is
What?
my way of. No, I said I love you, and you did a great job today. And for this matter, we're going to have to. We've gone way over. Not that we had any legitimate time, but
Man.
the longer we go, the more we'll have to pay you.
No, yeah, that's right. So you guys want to see Joe Milton, what he can do?
Sure. I want to see his arm.
Right, but here's the downside of that. Okay, what if he's so good he crushes the Bills on Sunday?
Yeah, we're playing the Bills JV.
Great Drake May, and keep the number one pick, and you get all those picks for Drake.
There you go. There you go, Bob. See, I knew I'd come around to your question.
Yeah, that a girl. Good
There you
job.
go.
All right, good job, everyone.
Karen, thanks so much. Karen Guregian of MassLive.com has been our guest, and she is, as always, knows more than Lobel and Lynch combined, which I wouldn't say is the greatest compliment you've ever received.
And then everything we knew, we forgot. So there.
That's right.
But as much as we can remember, how's that? So,
Perfect.
all right, Karen. Thank you so much. As always, Happy New Year, Karen. Loby, Happy New Year, and Happy New Year to all.
Hey, Karen, have fun Sunday.
I'm sure it'll be a blast.
Here's
Make sure
two teams that want to lose. Two teams that don't care about winning. Are they still? Were they flexed to the 4:30 game, or are they 1:00 now?
1:00 Sunday. Be
1
there.
o'clock.
Yeah. Okay. Two teams that don't really care about winning.
Well, I would say Buffalo does care. Even if they play their scrubs.
Yeah.
They care about winning because they're going to rest their A team. They care about winning later. So there.
Right. We've locked up the number 16 seed in the AFC, right? So we guarantee. All right. Karen, thank you. Thank you all. Happy New Year. And don't forget to follow us on UnAnchoredBoston.com.